Hello everybody, my name is Tanner. I'm here to tell you my story of survival from my fiancé and I's trip to Zion National Park on June 3rd of 2018. It was a vacation that Taylor and I have been looking forward to for weeks, and we spent a lot of time trying to decide where to go, what to do, and we came up with a road trip to Utah. And Zion, Bryce, and Arches were going to be our stops, but unfortunately we only made it to Zion and it was only our first day. But this is the story of our survival and what has happened after that and everything else, so I hope you enjoy. Taylor and I ultimately decided on hiking the Narrows, and it was just an absolutely beautiful day for it. We wanted something that was challenging but not too challenging, and I mean, we were somewhat experienced hikers and whatnot, and it just wasn't anything too crazy. And most of the hike was in about waist high to knee high water, and you know, with it being like over 100 degrees and stuff, being in the water all day made it much more bearable. But the pictures that you're seeing are of our trip. It was before and after we were in the water, hiking through the narrow canyons and the sheer rock faces that we were right up against and everything. It was just absolutely beautiful. There was somewhat of a lot of people there. Once we got into the canyons, not so many people were around us, so it kind of spread out amongst the canyons and whatnot. But we spent about 6.5 hours or so, give and take, for our hike, which was pretty good. We had stopped and had a snack and whatnot, and then we ultimately decided to turn around and head back, and we were going to go to the brewery that was nearby just to kind of celebrate, have a beer after our long hike, and then just call it a day. We got back to where there's like a concrete path that transitions to stairs that go down into the water area for people to play and see and everything like that. So we had stopped just after the stairs back up on the concrete path to empty out the water and sand and debris and everything out of our shoes, since they were submerged most of the day. We wanted to get our feet dry at least a little bit. But we had stopped maybe for about 5 minutes or so, and we, you know, just kind of enjoyed the view for a moment, and we put our somewhat dry shoes and socks back on and continued on our hike from there. This picture you're seeing here was the last picture taken before the incident occurred. When Taylor and I finally started walking again after drying our shoes and socks off, we immediately had something change our lives forever. We heard what sounded like thunder, and that's the best way I can ever describe what the sound was like. But it made us look up right away, and we saw the top of the mountain coming our way, and it was traveling pretty fast. The amount of debris and stuff, from what other people said, it was about the size of a large house. And as the debris started breaking up along the mountain, it started picking up a lot of speed. So I turned and I tried to get Taylor out of the way the best I can. I got her moving and running in one direction, and I don't know what told me to turn around and run the other way, but I immediately did that and started running, and I could feel the debris coming to my right side, and as it got really close to me, I kind of jumped a little bit and closed my eyes, and as soon as I jumped, I felt something hit me hard in my lower right leg, and I opened my eyes, and I was laying on my right side on the concrete and trying to kind of collect myself for a moment. But in the meantime, the rest of the rocks and dirt and sand and everything else was coming down on top of me, so I kind of pulled myself closer to the side of the cliff to try and, you know, if the debris hits the side of the mountain, it's gonna, you know, jump over me and not squish me or smash me. So I grabbed onto what was a fence, or what was left of a fence there, and pulled myself as close as I could to the cliff face, and I think that's what saved me from other injuries, as well as my backpack absorbed a few decent sized boulders, and probably saved me from a serious back injury and other things. But as I was laying there and then the debris finally stopped falling on top of me, I kind of assessed myself to see what was going on. I knew I couldn't move my right leg much. To be honest, I thought I broke my femur. My leg wouldn't work anymore. And then I kind of sat up to kind of see what was going on, and that's when I noticed that my right foot had been severed and was no longer attached to my leg, along with lots of soft tissue damage. It was just bad. I knew I was in bad shape as soon as I saw it. But as I was sitting there, I was looking around, and I spotted my foot that was laying on the concrete amongst the rest of the debris and stuff. So I reached over and I picked it up and I put it back somewhat where it should have been, and then I laid back down and waited for Taylor to find me. And I didn't hear much until I heard one faint call of hers, and then I answered, and all I said was, "Taylor, I'm hurt." When Taylor finally found me, I could see in her face that I was in pretty bad shape. Obviously, I just saw what had happened to my leg as well, and I just had to stay calm. I was glad to see that she wasn't injured and everything. That was definitely a sigh of relief, but now the real battle had started, and I just tried to stay as calm as I could, and Taylor was trying to get people to help me out, and then trying to keep young children away because they didn't need to see anything gruesome like that. And thankfully, people came running over to me. I mean, there were nurses and PAs and Army field medics and all these people that were on vacation, and they just so happened to be there on the same day as Taylor and I. And I mean, it's just, you can't make that stuff up. Like, that's crazy that those people were there to help me. And they were the nicest people ever. They did everything they could for me. One gentleman took a shirt off to tie around my leg to make it a tourniquet the best he could, and then Reggie, one of the Army field medic guy who came over, he had an actual tourniquet and tied that around my hip area to try and stop the bleeding. And then the guy that took his shirt off, he used a shirt to kind of tie my foot and my leg to some walking sticks that he had. And I mean, just, they did everything they could for me at that moment. I was in bad shape, and they needed to get me out. So Reggie and a few other guys and girls that were there to help me picked me up, and they carried me over a mile to get out of this canyon. And they had to stop a few times, obviously, carrying me. I'm not the biggest guy, but still, when you're carrying somebody with, that's dead weight, basically, it takes a lot out of you. And these men and women did amazing job. They got me to an ambulance that park ranger had called within about 45 minutes or so, and they got me loaded up into the ambulance and started taking me away. So those people are heroes. They did amazing job for me and Taylor, and they got us where I needed to be at that moment, and on to the next part of this healing process. So my life, I owe them everything, and so thank you guys. If you see this video, thank you again. Once we were situated in the ambulance and on our way to the hospital, I was starting to get real tired and lethargic. I can just assume that was just a loss of blood. I mean, everybody said that I left a big long trail from where the incident happened to the ambulance, and I just kept trying to tell myself to stay calm and stay alert, and answer questions and talk to people and stuff like that. That way I get my mind preoccupied to what serious situation is going on. And it helped to just not, talk about the injury that much and just talk to people and kind of go from there. But the ambulance ride was about an hour. And by the time we finally got to the trauma center in St. George, Utah, I was fading pretty quick. I had lost most of my blood, and I was extremely pale, and I was pretty close to bleeding out. And the doctors got to me just in time, and they put me on the trauma table and started asking me questions. And it was quite the experience to that point, and it's going to continue from there. I'm going to show you pictures of the x-rays here in just a moment and the process after that. The two trauma doctors that were there, Dr. Butterfield and Dr. Myers, reassured me that they were going to take care of me and go from there. But pretty much as soon as I was on the trauma table and they got the information that they needed, they knocked me out and took me right into surgery right away. Surgery lasted, from what Taylor told me, probably about 8 hours or so, and they had to externally fixate my leg and see if it starts to heal properly from there. I woke up the next morning to find that my foot was somehow still attached. I thought for sure that they weren't going to be able to save my leg, let alone my foot. I kind of came to that conclusion in the ambulance that it was a very real possibility that I will probably lose most of my leg, and I'm going to have to learn how to walk and stuff again. But they did a miracle on me there. And that was only the first of 6 surgeries I had within the next 2 weeks to try and finally get my leg fixed properly, or at least get it ready for another surgery down the line. I had a couple of debriefments where they went in and cleaned out debris, rock, blood, tissue, dead stuff, anything that they could find that wasn't still alive and whatnot. So I lost 4 muscles, I lost 3 tendons. My heel was fractured and basically exploded into 3 pieces from the impact. I had a lot of micro fractures in my foot from obviously being ripped out of my shoe and sock. My fib, my fibula was it was so fractured, I don't even know why they even saved what they did, but it's pretty much mush. And then my tibia was sheared off, and the back part of the posterior part, the back part was pretty much exploded out. So I had a lot of damage that needed to be repaired, and I had the 4 surgeries of cleaning and everything, and then the other 2 were basically repair and try and get some kind of, make the leg as normal as it can with what was left, and then the healing started from there. During my stay in the hospital, I had to relearn how to walk, how to use my leg, or at least what was left of it, to try and be stable and whatnot. They had me try standing up on it 2 days after the incident, which is just crazy to think about now, but at the time it was nice to know that I could actually do it, considering what was going on. But didn't start taking steps until almost, I would say, a couple of days before I actually left Utah to go back home to California. The trip home was interesting. My parents and Taylor's parents put me in the back cab of a pickup truck with a bunch of pillows to make me as comfortable as I can, and the doctors even put in a nerve block, which basically makes my leg numb so I can't feel any pain or anything. And then they loaded me up in the truck and took me home. 6.5 hour or so drive back home to California, so I can finally go to Loma Linda and start getting the other 2 surgeries done. Eventually they would be completed. I needed a bone graft to fill in a gap in my tibia that was still present from the injury. I also had to get some plastic done to it. some tissue graft and skin graft and everything else to cover up the wounds and whatnot, but those weren't too bad compared to the others, and they healed up pretty nicely right now. Not too long after I had got home from California, though, I was dealing with an infection that kind of put a little hiccup in the healing process. I have a few pictures of that here that you can see. The leg didn't look too bad considering the damage that was done, but the x-rays really show the internal damage and whatnot. But it's moving on to the next step, one day at a time. At the time of this recording, I'm still currently going to physical therapy twice a week and continue using the pool and everything to help heal as much as I can. Unfortunately, though, it looks like I'm going to have a 9th surgery on my leg. They're going to take the rod out and replace it, and try and see if they can get the bone to grow a little bit more, and kind of go from there. It's more of a quality of life kind of deal. But I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen to my story. It's an honor to put it out there for people to listen to and to, absorb and understand that sometimes we're put through some pretty heavy stuff, and no matter what, we can still get through it. And I just hope that this video helps somebody, even if it's just one person. At least I can say I did that for them and whatnot. But the story continues. I'm still waiting to find out when the surgery is going to happen, and that'll continue in another video, so just stay tuned, and I'll give you another update. Thank you everybody for listening, and take care.